subsequent event note is note 17. And it is on page, Paula, it is on page 17 of the statements. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we look at the subsequent events and think normally when we're talking about them, we talk about what has happened since year end that might have a financial effect on your municipality. No, I actually am not convinced that it's going to have a large financial effect on you. I think there's going to be some items that will cost the municipality some money, some items that will cost the municipality less money than they had previously. Thank you, Paula.
It's trying to get rid of it. Oh.
I'm sorry, what's that? So the note 17 then, we thought, you know, given, not that anyone is ever going to forget the year of COVID, but nonetheless, we wanted to put something in the statements that just said there could be a financial effect. We just have no idea at this moment in time what it would be. So that's why we included, you know, the situation is dynamic, the ultimate duration and magnitude and the impact on the economy of the municipality is basically not known. So nonetheless, we felt we should include something about it at this point in time. And then the only other thing I thought you might be interested in running through was your schedule of continuity of the reserves, which is page 21, Paula. And I'm very impressed, Paula, that you're able to get these things in and out. I've been on one today where the poor person we all had to go out and back so that they could change the screen. So you did very well. So you will see, folks, the far, now it's left column are all the balances in your reserves at the start of the year. Then what happened? You made decisions during the year to take money out of those reserves or take them out of operations and transfer them into the reserves for some reason. And then at the far right, you've got what you ended up the year with. So the 6.4 are that you see there, the utility proceeds. That's the net then after costs for the utility and the disposition. And it's just left there in a reserve. You can make up your mind if you want to take it and put it into a capital reserve or whatever you might wish to do. But at this point in time, that's where it remains. And I thought you might want to see that money going in and where did it land after the disposition. Now, that might be the right time, Mayor, for me to say, does anyone have any questions?
Okay, Paula, if you can stop sharing for a minute, I'll be able to see everybody. If you have any questions, please raise your hand, unmute, and you can ask.
I think everyone has a lot fancier backgrounds. I have my my little dining room table, and that's about it. And as opposed to some people in San Francisco and
Kensington's garden. Okay, one of the things I just wanted to say is, like, when I was looking at that schedule of continuity of reserves, we can see that between all of the money that we have transferred out of reserves and all of the money that we've transferred into reserves, that really balances it out. And really the biggest change comes from the sale of hydro.
Yes.
And so when we add 6.4, we get to 4.5, we get to 10.9. So everything else really hasn't changed the level of our reserves. That stayed very balanced.
Yeah. It was basically a wash, Mayor.
Yeah.
Yes.
The other thing is those graphs are always really interesting when we are comparing to other municipalities. It really leaves me in a very reassured position that we are in good shape here in Espanola compared to some of the other municipalities. So thank you for pointing those out.
I'm delighted. I actually reached out to your CAO this afternoon because, you know, we pulled out quite a while ago, and I thought, my goodness, has anything significant happened in the last little while? And we ran through, you know, what various things might have happened with COVID and that sort of thing at the time. But it did, we were both talking about that, okay, you know what? It's not a bad time to be sitting there where you're not worried about having to borrow money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so are there any questions? Okay, Councillor Dufour?
Yeah, I would just like to have a copy of this graph, but like of the graphs and everything.
Oh, sure, sure. I'm sorry, I thought were you not emailed those?
Yes.
We were. They were in an email to you, Councillor Dufour.
Were they?
Yeah, it was a separate email from the agenda file. But if you can't find it, just let me know or let Paula know, and we'll make sure you get a copy of it.
Under which headline or under which email?
I'll spell it.
I have something else up on my tablet, so I don't want to, but it was sent out. So we'll double check for you and make sure that you have it. Okay?
Okay,
And
thank you.
please do keep in mind too, if there's ever any comparative that you were thinking, gee whiz, I'd really like to know what the masses are spending on this on a relative basis, just let us know, because there's so much good detail in those FERS online.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly.
So I don't see any further questions. Thank you for joining us this evening.
I'm delighted.
We will let you know if there's anything else that comes up, and we will look forward to seeing you again next year.
Sounds great.
All
Thank
right.
you very much. Good
Bye-bye.
evening, folks.
Okay, so we will move on then with our regular agenda. Okay, we have done the confirmatory bylaw. We did that one out of order, so we had done that first. So we are going to move on to the council technology policy. So that is in your agenda package. I just had the page here. Page 31 of 35. So we have the changes that we discussed last week. We added the word, we'll move towards testing towards a paperless environment, and the council member will pay a $200 fee for any lost, stolen, or damaged equipment. So we had taken out the words is solely responsible. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for discussion on that policy, and then we will have a vote and move on. So mover and a seconder, please. Okay, I heard I saw Councillor Foster go up. Is there, I missed a seconder.
Councillor Hayden.
Thank you. Okay, so moved by Councillor Foster, seconded by Councillor Hayden. Be it resolved that policy number CO7-01880, council technology policy, be accepted as presented. So I'll open, Councillor Foster, you are the mover on this motion. Do you wish to speak first?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Any concerns I had from the last time are gone. Okay, we've inserted a member will pay a $200 fee if we damage it or lose a tablet. I'm happy with that. Okay, it's a penalty, but it's not a huge penalty, and it's a deterrent to make sure you take care of the equipment. And Ken last time was suggesting he was worried about whether the transition to paperless would be realistic, and this change in the wording for testing a paperless environment makes a lot of sense.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to speak on this motion?
I do.
Okay, Councillor Duplessis, go ahead.
It looks like, rather if we made some changes in here, it looks like the goal is to head toward paperless environment. Of course, if council agrees to that, wants to agree, that's fine. But I don't, I'm having a hard time with all this junk in front of me now. I don't know if I'm capable of this, but I certainly don't have a printer capable of handling the amount of size of agendas that we do have, sometimes 100, 150 pages. And the other thing that bothers me more is we're making a decision for future councils if we go that way. I'm not in favor of this policy at all. Thank you.
Okay. I will speak to the motion. I don't see any other hands going up. I'm in favor of this motion. It doesn't mean that we are going to be paperless next week. We're moving towards that. If a future council wishes to change that, it's just a matter of a motion on their end. So I think it's a good place to start, and then we evaluate whether we end up with paperless or not. So unless there's anything further to add, I will call this to a vote. Okay, Councillor Van Alstyne.
Okay, I agree with Councillor Duplessis regarding doing a large amount of printing. I have no problem with having the agenda sent out electronically and so on. But when it comes to a large amount of printing, the toner itself is very costly, not to mention the added cost of the paper. So I would have a bit of a concern there.
Okay, so again, it doesn't say that we are definitely going paperless. It means that we are trying it, and then we can go on from there. So I will call the motion then. I am for the motion. Councillor Dufour?
No.
So that's against. Councillor Duplessis?
Against.
Councillor Hayden?
For.
Councillor Foster? Councillor Foster, are you muted? Press the space bar. You should be able to. Okay, thank you. Councillor Malott is not here this evening, and Councillor Van Alstyne?
Opposed.
Okay, so the motion has been defeated. We have no technology policy. We move on. And it was pointed out to me that I missed a motion. I think I just set it aside when we went out of order. Okay, sorry. So I have a motion that we accept the consolidated financial statements. So I will need a mover and a seconder.
I'll move.
Councillor Duplessis, you can second. Councillor Van Alstyne, I heard said would move it. Okay, so the motion moved by Councillor Van Alstyne, seconded by Councillor Duplessis. Be it resolved that the consolidated financial statements be accepted as presented. Any discussion on that? Councillor Van Alstyne, you move the motion.
No, I have no comments.
Okay, is there comments from anyone else? Okay, so I'll call the motion. I am for the motion. Councillor Dufour?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Duplessis?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Hayden?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Foster?
For.
And thank you. Councillor Malott is not here this evening, and Councillor Van Alstyne.
For.
Thank you. So that motion has carried. Okay, so the next item on the agenda, we have a staff report from the fire department, and they're looking at moving the forest fire sign. Instead of being on the property of the fire hall like it was in the past, because the fire hall has moved, it is being proposed that it moves to the corner of Queensway and Highway 6 across from the Tim Hortons. There is a sketch that is attached to the staff report, and the request is that basically a second sign be made and it be put in a V position so that it can be seen from both directions. I will need a mover and a seconder for this motion so we can put it on the floor for discussion.
Councillor Hayden,
Okay, and I saw Councillor Foster's hand go up, so moved by Councillor Hayden and seconded by Councillor Foster. Okay, so the motion reads, be it resolved that a forest fire hazard sign be installed in the corner of Queensway and Highway 6 across the highway from Tim Hortons. So Councillor Hayden, you move the motion. I'll allow you to speak first on the motion.
yeah, thank you. I think this is a very good idea. It's very important for people that are in our community and just going outside of our community to use their resources for camping and whatever, know whether we have a fire ban in place or not. And I think that it's better than the other sign because that only shows up every so often and people are not always there long enough to be able to read the sign. So I'm very much for this.
Okay, Councillor Foster, did you wish to speak on the motion?
I'd like to say that I think it's important that particularly for the tourists that we drive home the point what the fire hazard is. We have forests all around the community and we don't want tourists leaving the community and starting the forest fires elsewhere.
Okay, anybody else wish to speak on the motion? Councillor Van Alstyne?
Who owns the property it's going on? I didn't see that.
I would assume that it would be going in the road allowance.
It's the town.
Yeah, so it would be town ownership.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor,
Yes, Councillor Dickinson?
I see it was budgeted for. Was it planned to move the sign? Do you know?
I was not aware of the plan to move this morning, but it is in our budget. It's under our strategic goal of health and safety community. Is there a particular thing that you want to know about that?
No, that's fine, thanks.
Okay. Okay, I see no other hands going up for discussion. Okay, so I will call the motion. Give me just a second here. Sorry, oh, that's right. Chief Pecor, you are here this evening. Is there anything that you wish to say about the sign?
No, just we just don't have a place here to sorry, just one moment. We don't have a place here to put it on our property or the fire hall where it'd be first off visible to the public and it would not be effective for the people traveling through. So we looked at a couple different locations along the highway and we believe that that would be a good location for it as it's visible from both directions, visible from all the people that visit Tim Hortons and also visible to the people heading toward Penage Lake Road, towards the island and everywhere. So we feel that's a good location for it. And as far as changing the sign goes, that would be my responsibility or a responsibility of one of my officers going forward.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions from a councillor? Okay, I will call the motion then. I am for this motion. Councillor Dufour?
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's 4.
It is. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. Councillor Duplessis.
In favor.
Thank you. Councillor Hayden.
4.
Councillor Foster.
We've lost him.
We have lost Councillor Foster. Okay. Councillor Malott is not here, and Councillor Van Alstyne.
4.
Thank you. So that motion has carried. Okay, so next item on the agenda is the gravel tender. And I do see we have Mr. Parker on the line if there are any questions. So it looks like we have a motion here. I'll need a mover and a seconder for this motion. Councillor Duplessis and Councillor Dufour. Okay, so the motion reads, moved by Councillor Duplessis, second by Councillor Dufour, be it resolved that council award the 2020 gravel tender to Carlisle Construction Limited. Okay, so any questions or comments? Councillor Duplessis, you move the motion. Do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, I don't.
Okay, Councillor Dufour, do you have anything that you wish to say?
Yeah, in the financial commitment at the bottom of the staff report, it says 101,797.50, and that's excluding HST. On the other hand, the other one states 100, or is that the same one? That's what I wanted to ask. Is that the same one with the with the HST?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay, that's what I wasn't sure of.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Thanks.
Okay, anybody else wish to speak to the motion? Okay, so I will call a motion. I am for this motion. Councillor Dufour?
Yes, I'm for it.
Thank you. Councillor Duplessis?
In favor.
Thank you. Councillor Hayden?
In favor.
Thank you. Councillor Foster has been unable to rejoin us. Councillor Malott is not here, and Councillor Van Alstyne.
In favor.
Thank you. That motion is carried. Okay, the next item on the agenda, let me go back up to the top, is our community events cancellations. We know that we are still in the midst of COVID-19, but I have a motion, and then we'll put it onto the floor for discussion. If we need to amend the motion, we can amend the motion. But the motion as it reads right now says, be it resolved that Canada Day fireworks, the outdoor movie, and Clear Lake Summer Beach program be canceled for the 2020 season due to COVID-19. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for that. Councillor Duplessis, was that your hand up? Okay, and Councillor Dufour?
Yes.
Seconded by R. Dufour. Okay, so I've read the motion. Basically, it's the discussion on the fireworks program, the outdoor movie, and the Clear Lake Summer Beach program. We know that we're still under the provincial state of emergency. There's a lot of municipalities that have canceled their fireworks and are going to present a virtual fireworks online. So that's kind of what is happening in terms of the outdoor movie. The concern that I have with the outdoor movie is the ability to manage the technology. The idea initially was potentially looking at whether we can broadcast the movie via radio waves, so people can pick it up on their car radio, but then it leads to a bunch of logistical issues in terms of keeping kids in the car for a couple of hours, not having them run around. If a car wants to leave, are they going to get blocked in? So there's lots of issues with the outdoor movie and the Clear Lake Summer Beach program. There's a lot of places that are still leaving their beaches closed. So even though day camps can open, I think our beach provides some particular issues when it comes to running the summer programs that we have in the past years. So I just thought I'd give you that as a background. Since there's no staff report, this has come up I knew that we needed to have the discussion, and Councillor Hayden had asked for the discussion on this last week. Councillor Duplessis, you moved the motion. Would you like to speak on the motion?
I think you said it all, Your Honor, and I think it's better to be safe than sorry.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dufour?
Yes, I have something. I'm just wondering, are we going to be saving any money, like for people doing whatever it is that they do? Are we going to have a savings there for the town?
There, I would think that there potentially is a savings because the cost of the fireworks, that's always, the municipality has always contributed towards that. And I believe that the firefighters do some fundraising for that as well. The outdoor movie is a cost to us, which would represent a cost savings. But we have the other balancing end that we don't know what some of the increased costs are going to be for the COVID-19. So I can't see that there's going to be significant savings to all of this. But I do recognize that there are going to be some. Councillor Foster?
Yeah, I got cut off. I think my internet went down for a little bit and I couldn't log on for a while. Can you just tell me, before I answer this, can you tell me how we voted on the sign?
In favor.
In favor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm in favor of canceling these events. Okay, and it may very well be we could do the fireworks in the fall. Okay, Labor Day or something like that. But I think there's a lot of unknowns, particularly with the beach. Okay, and the spread of COVID in that area.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Anybody else wish to speak to this motion? Okay, so seeing no one else wishing to speak, I will call the motion. I am for this motion. Councillor Dufour?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Duplessis?
In favor.
Thank you. Councillor Hayden?
In favor?
Thank you. Councillor Foster?
For.
Thank you. And Councillor Van Alstyne?
For.
Thank you. So that motion is carried. Okay, so the next item, we need to go in camera. So I'll need a mover and a seconder to move us into camera. Councillor Van Alstyne?
Councillor Hayden?
Thank you. Okay, so moved by Councillor Van Alstyne, seconded by Councillor Hayden. Be it resolved that under authority of section 26.1.3 of bylaw number 206208, council goes to an in-camera session for the purpose stated in section 239.2 of the Municipal Act. Personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. And the time is 7:53 p.m. So I am in favor of this motion. Councillor Dufour? We're just voting to go in camera.
Yeah, I realize that. I'm not in favor of going in camera in this, I mean, for the reasons I was reading. I didn't think we needed to go in camera for that.
We do if we're talking about an identifiable individual.
Well, there's no identifiable individual that I can see.
Okay, so are you voting against this then?
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Duplessis.
In favor.
Thank you, Councillor Hayden.
In favor.
Thank you, Councillor Foster.
In favor.
Thank you, and Councillor Van Alstyne.
In favor.
Thank you. So that motion is carried, and I'll wait for confirmation that the camera is turned off. I need a mover and a seconder for the motion.
I will. Councillor Hayden.
Okay, so mover is Councillor Hayden. And I'll need a seconder for the motion, please. Thank you. Councillor Dufour. Okay, so we were in camera. Sorry, I should disclose the reason why we're in camera. We're in camera to discuss personnel matters about an identifiable individual. So we do have a motion that we are bringing to the floor now. The motion is moved by Councillor Hayden, seconded by Councillor Dufour. Be it resolved that staff proceed with replacing the administration clerk position. So any further discussion on this? Okay, so I'll call the motion. I am for the motion. Councillor Dufour?
I'm not in favor.
Okay, Councillor Dufour?
Against.
Thank you. You need to make sure that you are muted. Councillor Hayden?
In favor?
Thank you. Councillor Foster? Yes.
What are we voting on? I got kicked off again.
Yes, welcome back. The motion is that staff proceed with replacing the administration clerk position.
I'm in favor.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Malott is not here, and Councillor Van Alstyne.
Opposed.
Okay, so that motion has been defeated. Okay, so I have a motion to adjourn, and we'll have a discussion with our CEO in terms of what comes next in terms of replacing that position, because that position will be vacant shortly enough. So I need a mover and a seconder to adjourn the meeting. Councillor Van Alstyne. And a seconder? Councillor Dufour. Be it resolved that the special meeting of council is hereby adjourned at 8:14 p.m. I am for that. Councillor Dufour?
Favor.
Councillor Duplessis?
In favor.
Councillor Hayden?
In favor?
Councillor Foster?
In favor.
Councillor Malott is not here, and Councillor Van Alstyne.
In favor.
Okay, that motion is carried. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Good night.